Yo, yo. Anwar, what's up?
What is up? What is up? What's going on, Michael?
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
I think I'm getting some echoes.
Yo, no, I'm pretty stoked on getting some of your origin story today.
Oh,
What's the
no.
man behind pancakes?
I've never, yeah. Well, I guess I've told it a couple times in some smaller spaces. Reese, I sent you an invite. Are you coming up?
Nah, I think this will be a good one.
Let me give, wait. How do I co-host Victor?
I am indeed. How's it going, bro?
They won't let me invite him to co-host. Oh, I know how.
What's up? What's up, Reese?
Currently experiencing the English summer. Lovely weather today. Lots of rain, lots of wind. Not much sun. How's the weather for you guys today?
It was scorching. It was like 38 degrees yesterday for me.
Yeah, the weather here is really, I'm in Buenos Aires, so it's like really cold one day and then like really nice the next. So I'm sick all the time.
Oh, man. GWS for pancakes.
It's okay, though. We're feeling good today. Nice and hot. What's up, Vic?
Yo.
Yo.
It's going well. Alex, hello. Oh, I guess he's no speaker.
Yes, we may need to give a speaker slot to the CEO of IDEX.
Probably quite
yeah,
a good idea.
I invited him a few times. I don't know if he wants to talk. If you're not getting an invite, let me know. Oh, should we get Phil up here? Yeah. This is going to be a very random fun space, which I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Special edition.
Are they not getting invites? I don't understand. So weird.
All right, while we wait for everyone to filter in and for us to set up over here, as a reminder, make sure you share the space so we can get as many degenerates in here as possible. If you do have any questions that come up, feel free to ask them. There is a button on the bottom right which will allow you to reply to the space, and we'll be able to see your question and answer it towards the end of the, I guess, podcast is what it is now. I mean, as close as you can get to it.
Yeah, it's a podcast. Spotify soon.
Alex, how's it going? Welcome to the dream team up here.
Hey, what's up, guys?
He is in the house.
This,
What's up, Alex?
Things coming through all right. I'm getting notice about poor connection, so hopefully my internet's good.
Yeah, I always worry about that because I'm always the one hosting the space from Argentina, and I'm like, at some point, I'm going to rug the most important spaces. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I can hear everybody clearly. It's normally my internet that's the one that's a little bit laggy, but everything's good.
Yeah, everyone sounds good to me.
Awesome. So where do we want to start today, guys? I mean, it's hamster race to the bottom at the top, so I assume it's not too much subject matter to.
Well, I'm here to FUD hamsters, but just before we get started, as is tradition, we have Alex from the team who will be giving a few product updates, and I think we're pretty much ready to go, right? We have everyone up here. Everyone is settled in. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, looks
All right,
like it.
let's do it.
All right, so welcome to another edition of Spill the Alpha. This one is number 4. We're getting closer and closer to the testnet release, so we have some product updates to chat about, and then we're going to have a pretty casual, fun conversation about what's happening in the CT space. It's been a wild few weeks. We've had hamsters, we've had Harry Potter 10 Obama Inu, we've had 27 different casinos pop up, so we'll chatting through those. But again, as is tradition, before we get into that, Alex, will you please give us some product updates? You're muted, by the way.
Hey, sorry, I am having internet issues. I just jumped to mobile. Was that to me?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Hopefully this works. So yeah, just shout at me or message me on Slack or something if it starts to break up. But yeah, thanks everyone for jumping on. As always, great to see a bunch of familiar faces. Thanks for the team for hosting. So some big updates on the product side. I guess a couple weeks ago, we made the big announcement that we were partnering with Polygon to launch XChain. And a refresher for those who either weren't there or haven't seen some of the recent news, XChain is the settlement network that will allow us to truly unlock parity with centralized exchanges. So we at IDEX have been focused really for the last 6 years on building the best high performance order book decks. So that means components like a trading engine, risk engine, order books, APIs, etc. All of these different components of the exchange that allow the product to equal the performance of centralized exchanges. So when you trade on it, it should feel no different than your top tier centralized exchanges. The missing piece has always been an affordable settlement network. And we found this out early on when we were on ETH L1 and CryptoKitties led to $10 trades and backlogs of users trying to get transactions through. So this has been kind of a long time goal for us. And it's why I'm personally really excited to be pairing up with Polygon to solve this. So XChain is a high throughput settlement network. It uses ZK EVM technology in order to allow for hundreds of thousands of trades to go through at pennies, under a penny per transaction. So this is exactly what you need in order to pair it with the existing infrastructure that we have to match centralized exchanges. So that's really what it means, is that you don't have to worry about performance issues. You also don't have to worry about exorbitant costs associated with on-chain custody and settlement. And we really think that's like key to getting users over the hump of migrating away from centralized perpetuals exchanges, right? There's really, after this, there's really no excuse to keep leaving your funds custodied with someone else. You'll have everything you want. So much of the engineering effort has been focused on integrating XChain. So when we spoke last week, we had the first version of the testnet up and running. We've actually been on a new version since then. So we're working closely with Polygon because they're still putting the final touches on the ZK EVM product. So we're really working in tandem with them to make sure that it's going to meet our needs when we go to mainnet with them. A few other, so one of the key things that came out of the review of the testnet is that there's a few smart contract changes needed. So one example of ZK EVM being different, every transaction creates its own block. And so that required in some ways some changes in the way we think about block times and that information within the smart contracts. We've also been working to look at the bridge infrastructure and figure out how we can make it as easy as possible to get in and out of the layer 2. So this is a different problem than being on a public network and something that we're working closely with Polygon to address. But excited to share that the smart contracts, so we made those changes that were required for ZK EVM. Those have been incorporated into the audit, and we actually received final audit reports from the teams after those XChain related changes were reviewed and approved. So this is obviously a big internal milestone. It means that the smart contract code is frozen pending any further things that come up in our integration testing. But we're not planning any more features. We don't anticipate any more changes, and we can really work on testing the infrastructure around the smart contracts as we move closer to launch. Another big update, so we're starting detailed UI reviews next week. What that means is we're going to be stepping through the UI, the web client, as a team, looking at each detail, each piece of the application, raising any issues, fixing some of them in real time, with the goal of getting it to that pixel perfect format, so to speak, that will be ready for the full internal testing. It's a little hard to tell exactly how long each of these phases will take, but we're down to the matter of like weeks and months rather than quarters and years. So it's pretty exciting. The last thing that is worth mentioning that we finished up in the last week is this concept, this piece of the product known as the Liquidation Partner Program. So this allows us to take accounts that are up for liquidation and pass them off to professional market making partners, pass off their position so that they can then hedge it on third-party exchanges, on other venues, rather than having to liquidate those orders into the books. So one of the things that we're really focused on with the exchange is making that best trading experience possible. And if you're familiar with perpetuals trading, one of the challenges can be deep enough liquidity and ensuring that you don't have an issue where liquidations actually lead to a cascade where price deviates from what you see elsewhere in the market. So this liquidation partner program is a pretty cool innovation. It's used on centralized exchanges, but we're not aware of anyone introducing it into the DEX space yet. And it'll lead to more stable order books and ultimately deeper liquidity. And those are the updates that I had to mention today.
Amazing. Thank you as always. Great stuff. And it's really awesome to see that we're getting closer and closer. So once we're able to get through UI review, I think we'll be able to start sharing a lot more screenshots and GIFs of the product, and everyone will be able to start to get a feel for what it'll look like. And I wanted to share a bit more insights around the testnet beta. Last time I gave kind of a small tease, but I think the community really wanted more. So I'll share a little bit more details. So our current plan in the next few weeks is to open up a whitelist process. As I mentioned before, what we're really looking for is a few hundred testers that will help us really dig deep into the product and figure out, one, really if there's any bugs that we need to solve before launch, and two, provide us feedback that's going to be critical for us to really build the best possible product for traders. So what we're currently planning is to really run a whitelist process, which will include having people be active in Discord, having people be active on our socials, provide us their thoughts and feedback even before the product goes live, so through things like the surveys. And ultimately what we want to do is amass a really strong list of about 300 testers who will then be given access to the beta and will be able to complete different quests within that beta. And by completing different quests, you'll unlock certain rewards. So some of those rewards will be IDEX tokens, and some of those rewards will be a little bit more interesting. So I'm sure you guys have seen the plushies. I'm sure you guys have seen IDEX merch from different events. We have a few different things planned that I can't share just yet, but it'll effectively be a combination of those two things. So if you're able to get on the whitelist and then you actually put in the work to complete quests, help us do QA, there will be a lot of things for you to earn there. Finally, we're also going to probably be running a trading competition during the testnet beta. So not only are you going to be able to earn rewards through completing quests, but if you take trading seriously during the testnet beta, not only are testing different parts of the product, we're actually conducting real trades. You'll have opportunity to earn even more rewards. So really exciting stuff. Again, keep a really close eye on Twitter. I suggest joining Discord and getting prepared, because that waitlist process, which we can touch on a little bit more in the coming weeks, will start pretty soon. All right, so I think that wraps up our segment for the IDEX stuff. Again, if anyone has any questions, the reply button is right there in the bottom right in spaces. Feel free to drop a question, comment, anything, and we'll have someone from the team get back to you, or we'll even discuss it live on the spaces. And with that, let's jump into Pancakes. Pancakes, you have become quite the unique figure over the last few months in CT. I've seen you in probably 20 different spaces, started to host your own, and you've obviously made I think you've really carved out a really unique position for yourself in CT, because as you mentioned, you're not necessarily a trader, you're not necessarily an NFT maxi, you're not a developer, you're not a researcher, you're just a bro. And it's been really inspiring, I think, for a lot of the reply guys and shit posters to see your tremendous growth in the space. And I think the wholesome vibes that you've provided to the space since day one has really been what propelled you forward. But I'm curious to kind of know your origin story, since I don't think many people know it. And I want to know what how you've been feeling the last few months, how you've been thinking about the growth of CT. Obviously, we had the trip up with Threads. Now we're back to whatever this app is called. I guess X.
This is X.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
I'll try and be brief. So I dropped out of university at 18, like first semester. Started managing musicians, did that for 7 or 8 years. Ran a marketing and PR firm for independent artists during that time. During COVID, that business kind of went under, so I just took the money I had in savings and just traveled the world. And that eventually ran out. And around that time, crypto was like coming back. 'Cause I was in 2017 and lost all my money, and just like sold the bottom and went to Thailand. And so
Good start so far.
Based.
so like yeah. But I knew all the OGs in the space from the 2017 cycle. So this time around, when 2021 came around, I was like just bored one night, and I was like, I'm just gonna make a joke account. Because I had been like trading with, some people know Suyash on the timeline. We were trading on Pancakesbrah, just trading shit coins, and I lost, of course, most of everything again. And so I was like, I'm just gonna make a dumb account of like pretending to be the worst trader in the world, because it seems to be that I am the worst trader in the world. Like I couldn't make money doing anything, and so Pancakesbrah, because of Inverse Bruh, was just like the natural thing. And then, like, I never intended to grow it or anything. I was like, I'll do this for 2 days and get bored. And then, like, day 2 or 3, like Kobe retweeted me or quote tweeted me or something, and because I was just reply guying so much, and he thought something was funny. And when that happened, I like had been in the space long enough to understand what that meant as far as like potential, because my account just started growing a lot, and I was kind of like in between careers, not knowing what to do. And in 2017, there wasn't as much need for like BD growth and marketing people. It wasn't in as high demand as it is now. So my long-term goal was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to build this account. Like, I didn't really know what persona this was going to be until it kind of just like became itself, like this like persona of Pancakesbrah, and I've just kind of tried to stick with it as best I can. But yeah, I mean, I took I got one lucky win on a parallel card that allowed me to travel to as many conferences as I could and meet a bunch of people, which is where I met you at Consensus, Victor.
Yeah.
And I think it was Consensus. Breakpoint 2021 was my first conference where I've met, most of my friends in the space. I've met almost every anon in the space. For some reason, being not any of the typical crypto things, like not a trader, not an analyst, not good at anything as far as like crypto's concerned, and then also not pretending I know any of it on the timeline has just, I guess, gravitated people towards me.
Yeah, the authenticity.
Yeah, I guess so, because it's like I'm joking. Like I'm not quite as stupid as I act, but it's like I don't know anything about what's going on at the same time. It's like it's there's a fine line.
Just keeping it real.
And yeah, so like it's easy for me to be authentic and stupid because I genuinely like barely know what's going on. I mean, I've learned a lot over the past year working with IDEX. Obviously, like you guys have been like a blessing in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've 20x your knowledge at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, just like working with you directly and just being forced to immerse myself in the space and eventually doing more than just shit posting on the Twitter. Like I definitely know a lot more than I used to, and that's kind of where the spaces thing recently has come from. Is I've been jumping in these Web3 spaces of kids from the 2021 cycle, and at least I've been here since 2017. So it's like these 2021 kids don't really understand what a bear market is, and they think that it's all over forever and like it's everything's terrible, or like the founders are ruining their projects or whatever. And I'm just getting in there and just talking real to them, just being like, it's going to be okay. Like most of what you own is going to zero. It's okay. It happens. Just good luck next time, blah, blah, blah. And like I expected negative feedback. But what I noticed is every time I would jump into one of those spaces is I would get like 100 followers immediately from these big like Web3, Web3 or spaces. And then me and Scody decided, we were like, why don't we just do our own podcast? And we had, we've only done 2 because I slept through the one we were supposed to do with Alpha Illustrated Coinfessions, and
nice.
And rescheduled it. But Scody approached me and was like, let's do the lowest effort spaces possible. Like literally don't try at all. Don't prep for any guest. Just reach out and get your friends on the spaces. So we did Zach Voorhees, who was like a Google whistleblower. I knew nothing about him at all. I did zero research going into it. Scody knew a lot about him. And then we had K Money on, and then we had Udi reach out because he's in one of my group chats and was like, I'd like to come on. I was like, yeah. And then we have the Coinfessions creator on tomorrow. Jack Butcher coming up next week probably. Like, we have a lot of huge guests that are just like I've networked with and I've never asked anything of. And I'm even dipping my toes into, like, we want to bring it outside of crypto. Like, I'm bringing, like, I've talked to Tay Zonde about like that chocolate rain guy.
Wow.
I know him,
Okay.
and I talked to him about coming onto his space, and he was like, I'm absolutely down. World Mars catalog, if some of you know that account, they're down to come
Wow.
onto
So
his space.
Pancakes is going worldwide.
Global.
Yeah, so the goal, so this all started, I'll be really brief because it's like, I don't like telling my story. It's like, it feels weird. But the reason I even started doing spaces was because, I hope this is appropriate, and like I don't get in trouble, because Mario Narfall was doing a spaces, and I'm not a huge fan. I won't say the full story, but basically I finessed my way on stage and just pretended to be serious and then said something not nice to him, and they immediately kicked me, and they were like frozen. Like, everyone that was on stage was frozen. They had no idea what to say, and then they like ended the spaces and deleted it. Like, it's the only spaces they've deleted from his profile, and that little clip like kind of like went mini viral. And since then, I've just had people asking me, like, it's actually funny. The same agency that built Mario's Spaces platform reached out to me and was like, we'd like to work with you. And I was like, well, no thanks. But yeah, it was like, so that's kind of like where now I guess I host a weekly Spaces with Scody, and we're talking about upping it to 2 a week, even if we don't have a guest. We're just going to talk. But it's been going well. And like, I mean, that's not really related to IDEX or anything, but as far as IDEX is concerned, you guys gave me a chance for like almost for no, like, without any reason other than like you thought I was funny on the timeline. I think Hentai Avenger retweeted me, and like you saw the tweet. We met one time, and you just like gave me a chance, and then of course I won't go into it, but like I was really sick last year, and you guys supported me through that a lot. And kept me on the team and kept me.
We love you, of course.
And like
family.
So I don't know. I've had this like, just like,
you've had a lot of ups and downs since I met you, but it is still by far my favorite hiring story because anyone I tell outside of crypto, it goes like this: a person named Hentai Avenger retweeted a person named Pancakesbrah, and I DM'd this said person, and then we met up at a conference within a week. And then I hired that said person.
Yes.
Like, I think quote unquote normies, they're absolutely baffled by this story.
Well, I get asked that they're like, how did you get your job? And I'm like, well, actually, I have no idea.
Not a very repeatable process.
Unique.
Yeah, it was completely serendipitous. Like, I didn't mean to build the account. I almost quit Pancakesbrah a million times. And then like, I was just like, no, like you got 2,000 followers. You're growing this. You can figure something out. I was like not funny at times and whatever, and just it accidentally just like kept going. And I don't have a huge account; it's like 7. It's not big, but I know everyone in the space I want to know. And then like I said, you guys giving me the chance to really have a second chance at like a career, because I just didn't want to go back to music at the time. And so yeah, really, I mean, the moral of that story is I'm extremely grateful. I've said it to you guys before, but publicly I want to say it, like, extremely grateful for the IDEX team. Like, I've never met better people in my life. I haven't worked a job. I was self-employed since I was 18. So like coming back into like a working environment where I had like a boss and like things that I had to do on time has been very difficult, on top of me like being very sick last year. And they've been the most patient people in the world. And like, I just want to say that IDEX is like genuinely unbiased, like the best team in crypto. Like, you guys are awesome. Alex, Phil, Vic, and now Reese. I'm glad you're here, and or everybody. Like, it's just a great team, and I'm super, super happy with where I've ended up, compared to where I was 3 years ago. And it's all thanks to Vic for some reason reaching out and just like, let's hang.
I'm glad you're here, man. I think the IDEX brand would not be what it is today without you. I think there's so much synchronicity between the GOAT, Horny, and what Pancakesbrah is. And I think like one of the most interesting things before we jump to the next topic has been kind of the evolution of Pancakesbrah, where I think you started out as almost purely as a meme account, but now you've started to have this kind of synergy between, you know, the real you and your original vision for the account.
Yeah, well, I try to. It's a really hard balance because at some point the LARP gets really, you know, boring, and I'm very genuine and honest about, like, I don't care about being doxxed.
Right.
I was in music forever, so like the doxing doesn't bother me. Like my face is everywhere, and like, so I was like, all right, I undoxed early, and I've somehow been able to meet anons that don't really dox to anybody because they trust me in that sense. And then yes, I think just being more like slowly morphing more into myself on the timeline and like changing my PFP to like my actual face. Yeah, I don't know if that was a good idea yet or not, but it just felt like it was because, like, you know, I did a Blockmates podcast, and I realized this random guy's face that I Googled on like, I Googled boomer Facebook picture and picked like page 3 of Google and chose a random face, and that was my personality for 2 years. And I started to realize that I was on podcasts, and that guy's face was plastered as the thumbnail.
I wonder if he'll ever find out.
I hope not. He plays in a metal band. I'm gonna go buy some of his merch to, you know, give back. But I hope that's the extent of the giving back.
Oh man.
But that's why I changed my PFP. But it's not like I'm gonna change the Pancakes brand whatsoever. I still have my real life account that I have future plans with. But I just wanted to be like at least authentic in a way that it is my face. And like sometimes I say things that like aren't necessarily pancakes flavored, but I'm trying my best to stay in that lane and be funny and be like the persona that I built and because it's fun. It's super fun. It's like being a comedian without having to really like try and embarrass yourself because you can just type tweets and hit send. But yeah, it's been a fun experience. CT is unlike anything in the world, and it's like the most opportunity for really
what drew you to crypto and then like CT in the first place?
I got super big. I did this like corny read a book a week for 2 years when I was like 24, 25 or 23, 24, and somehow landed on I don't know, Antonopoulos, whatever his first name is. And he had like 3 books on Bitcoin, and I read them, and I got super Bitcoin pilled on the philosophy side of it. Like,
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I got super Bitcoin pilled on the like the macro philosophy side of like what it could mean for just the financial system worldwide and you know, wealth distribution in a way without being centralized and blah blah blah. The same story that a lot of people have. And then I found crypto, and I found XRP, and I found, you know,
Nice.
my first win was
You found the 2017 coins.
Yeah, like I got a 4x on XRP, my first trade ever, and I was like, I'm a genius. Like this is easy. And then
That's so relatable.
That's the only positive trade I had in 2017. Everything else was down only. I was down to just enough money to go to Thailand, so I sold it, and I was like, I'm out of here. And that was when I left, and I didn't stick around on the bear market, which is like my biggest regret. So this time I knew, like I just knew in my heart, I was like, no, this is like when you build. And like for everyone in this space right now, like if you're still here, that's awesome. But also just like be working your ass off at whatever it is you're trying to do. Like, it doesn't matter. I had what I thought to be no skills whatsoever to contribute to this space, and I figured something out. So like everybody here can figure something out. If you're still here, if you're still psycho enough to be in this space at this time, you can figure something out and make it work for the next bull run. But I'm done talking about myself. That's kind of how I got here. I just love the IDEX team more than anything, and I hope to be here for many years. And yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, we love you too, man. So one final question before we talk about hamsters. I know that you work closely with Lil B Bass God.
I do.
Can you talk a little bit about how that
Is
happened?
this Nodwa, bro?
Well, so I don't necessarily work close with him, but we do text and video call quite a bit. I managed rappers when I was 18, and my favorite rapper me and my best friend's favorite rapper was Lil B, and we were 18, and he was doing a show. He was doing a show in like at a metal festival. He was the headliner of a metal festival in the middle of Kentucky.
Interesting.
So I borrowed my ex-girlfriend's car, and drove to Kentucky. I didn't have a car, so I drove us to Kentucky. Went to the show, and we were like front of like, you know, maybe 100 people were there. Nobody was there. And it was funny. He like threw his towel that he had on his head like at me, and I grabbed it and like stuffed it in my pants real quick because I was like, "There's no way I got the bass god's towel. Like that's so cool." So I'm like walking out of the venue, and I get tackled by this guy, and he just takes the towel and runs off. And I lost the towel, and his manager saw it and like came up, and we started chatting. So I became good friends with Lil B's manager, and then from there, Lil B actually accidentally left his phone number in the footer of his email that he sent to me one day when we were talking about booking a show. So I was like, well, I'm going to text him. So I just texted him, and I was like, hey, it's Michael. And he was like, how do you have this number? And I was just like,
Nice.
I was like, well, you accidentally put it in your footer. Because Lil B's not like the brightest, you know, like he's
not the brightest mind of our generation.
Yeah.
Get it right, Dad.
And to be fair, not great, and like you know, this is candid things I've talked to him about, but like it was just funny because he was like, I was like, you left it in your email footer. He's like, I sent that email to like 20,000 people. I was like, well, good luck. Like, and so he ended up changing his number, but he gave me his number to me because we chatted, we became good friends. So yeah, I've just been friends with him forever. I actually have an unreleased song with Lil B and two of my best friends that we did as a joke. Maybe one day I'll put it out on the timeline. It's a complete joke. Like my friend produced it.
We're gonna auction that off on IDEX.
We could do that. That's fine. I own all the copyrights and masters. Like and Lil B's verse is entirely about crypto. It's hilarious.
Can we have that as background music on IDEX?
I'm sorry.
Can we have that as background music?
Oh yeah,
on April 1st.
Yeah. I'll definitely send it around to you guys. But Grug's the only person that has the song, and he keeps like begging me to leak it. I'm just like not quite yet. But we
actually had a question come in from the community. Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's a really good question for you. So Assad is asking, like, how did you network, and how did you end up growing your account on Twitter? Like, what are some good tips for networking with people on CT specifically? I know you mentioned going to conferences, but is there other strategies that you've kind of employed, whether intentionally or accidentally?
Yeah, I learned really quickly. So I was very antisocial and shy before music, and then music made me become less shy and extroverted. And then Twitter seemed like easy mode compared to like the music. Right. Like it's way more like the music industry is way more PvP to where it's like there's like violence involved and stuff. Like crypto's just different, and like it's just all on the internet. It doesn't feel real to me. So I just approached it to be the most annoying reply guy as possible, but funny. Like that was the key. Is like I had to be funny, and I don't even know if you followed me back then, Victor, but I had this whole facade of I had a wife, and I quit my job at Walmart, and I had to go to McDonald's every day.
You're a professional LARPer.
Yeah. I LARPed for about 3 months on this. Like it was in my it was
like you were part of a drama class almost. Like it was that serious.
Ancient law.
Yeah. It was so funny, and like I have people hit me up, and they're like, "Man, I remember when you had a wife," and I'm like, "That's not real." Like I never, and but like the joke was that I had a wife that like didn't understand, and like, and I couldn't let her leave because she was paying the bills because she worked at Applebee's, and I quit my job at Walmart, and she didn't know I quit, and I was at McDonald's all day trading coins, and one day the coins would save me, just this whole thing, and it became like it just made my account grow to like 8 or 9K. And then, you know, I still keep up I still do the pancakes type tweets and stuff. Like it's still there. But like that deep of the LARP, I couldn't keep going. It was just I felt like a crazy person. So, yeah, now it's just kind of more of a comedy, like shitpost account. I'll still never I've never shilled a coin on my account. That's another thing. No, like, okay, that wasn't even the question. So reply guy.
Yeah. How did you end up networking specifically? Like I think reply guy opened things up. And like when I checked your like one of the things that stood out to me, which is I guess a good answer for Assad here, is like when I looked at your like the tweets tab with the replies, and I scrolled through, it would take me 5 minutes to scroll through maybe like half a day worth of your replies. Like you were doing something like 800 replies a day. Like I couldn't get to, like if I was looking at replies for July 27th, I would never be able to make it to July 26th. Like
no,
that's
I
how many
got
replies you had in one day.
one time when a post went viral of mine. I got roasted for being like just like a nobody in my mom's basement or something because I had like 32,000 tweets over the course of like 6 months or something. Just something outrageous, like whatever it was. And I was like, man, they kind of roasted me. But to be fair,
so lesson number one is tweet a lot.
But like there's reply guys that do it and they think that, oh, I'm reply guying, like I'm doing the right thing, but it's like they're not. Like if you're not going to provide, you got to either provide alpha and like contribute to the conversation. I can't do that. You have to be, I don't know, I won't say the next one, but you or you have to be funny. I won't say the second one, but you have to be funny. And if you're going to be funny and you know you're not going to be the alpha guy, then you've got to stay wholesome and you've got to not burn bridges with people and you've got to stay away from the crypto drama. So I have zero enemies in the space. So I would just say like anyone can literally do it. It's just a matter of like, because anyone can be funny on Twitter. Like the crypto's a funny place. So it's like, it's not hard to like make jokes to make people laugh. And there's unlimited memes to use. You don't have to use your own words. Like you just go steal memes, like whatever. And like, I think just the consistency of, I mean, I had no job. So it was like literally for 6 months, I was just reply guying as Pancakesbrah and slowly getting like the Kobe follows and now like Andre and Raj and like all these just people that have no business following me because I was like, I think a breath of fresh air of like just the PvP of crypto. And it's funny, I've had people that hated me early on, that just became my best friends because like I wouldn't lean into their like negativity. I would just joke right back. Like no matter how mean they were to me, I would just be like, I would just tell it, like just be jokey with them.
Yeah, I think that was like the one unique thing about you as like a reply guy was that you never dunked on anyone.
No.
Like you never ever dunked on anyone and if it was, had any sort of sly reply. Like it was always pretty much wholesome 99% of the time.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. It's actually really funny. I do dunk on like, I mean, we're going to get candid here, I guess, because it's a fun space. But I dunk on like the super red pill community a lot. But they keep adding me to their group chats because they think I'm so funny. And it's just a really interesting thing. It's same with like the new NFT people. I kind of make fun of them a lot, but they're all really good friends of mine. And they let me speak in all their spaces. But I make fun of them. But
it's a good contrast.
In a wholesome way that I'm like, that it's funny enough that they get it. And it like, I've found this balance of just that. But basically, the moral of the story is be consistent in like what you're doing and replying, and be really, really. I have lists, like so many Twitter lists of like these are who you should be replying to, and like I took it very seriously once I realized what it was, and it was just honestly a year and a half of consistency until the one day I was like, okay, I have to announce I'm looking for a job. I have like no money, and that's when Hentai Avenger retweeted me. You know, it was a joke all the way up until then. And people respected that I was real for a second. And then I went right back to pancakes. Like nothing changed. And then, yeah, you guys brought me on. And then I remember you telling me early on, like the IDEX tweets are a little bit too pancakes. We got to like figure out a different flavor, you know? And like, that was a slow transformation. And then we eventually came up with like for a long time, it was just me and you figuring that out. And now of course we have a whole team of amazing people, you know, working with us.
Shout out to the dream team.
Yeah, the dream team. But, you know, for the first few months, like it was just me and you figuring it out because I've had huge imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome has been the hardest thing on me during this whole journey. And like you guys have been a big reason that I've been able to get over that. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, just whatever you're doing, just consistent with it. If you're a good trader, go trade. But if you're bad at everything like me, just be funny. That's all you can do. That's the only hope you have. Be funny. And don't get in beefs and just avoid drama and people will like you. And it's really that simple. And go meet people in person. Like, don't be afraid to go to conferences. Go meet people. Like,
yeah, definitely. I think that like that second layer when you finally get to meet a few of the CT people in person is where your world starts to really open up. But wow, yeah, thank you for spilling the alpha. The story of pancakes gets more interesting every time I hear it. You've truly, I think, spilled a lot of alpha. I didn't expect this to go on for so long. That was honestly really, really fun. I appreciate you diving deep into it. But we do have some things that I promised we would cover. So I guess we should jump to those now. Reese, maybe you could speak to a little bit of the next few topics. So obviously the last few weeks on CT and crypto have been interesting to say the least. I think the three narratives that I've kind of seen form are basically casinos, meme coins, and ultimately racing animal coins. Do you want to touch a little bit on how we got here, maybe?
So from my perspective, like this kind of whole thing has actually been happening for a lot longer than people realize. Like the animal racing stuff is definitely like more recent, but a lot of it kind of stems from Pepe and then like Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, you know, whatever it is. And then obviously people were making money through those kind of coins. And then people started like rotating towards actually the Telegram bots, like Unibot that help people.
That is another narrative.
Yeah, like help people buy these coins faster, right? Like give you some sort of edge. And the thing that really sent those coins was that they like gave utility of like rev share, but instead of diluting the token, it was you were getting paid out in ETH, and that basically went crazy. And then, yeah, the big thing, which is obviously kind of like this week and last week, is like all the animal racing stuff. And any animal you can think of has probably had a token to do with racing. The biggest one was definitely the hamsters, which went absolutely crazy. I remember going onto the Twitch stream and seeing like thousands of people watching these little hamsters race for about 5 seconds, and then it'd be like another 30 minutes.
So, I mean, I have a lot of questions, I guess.
Yeah,
go. before I ask my plethora of questions, the revenue share with Unibot is really, really interesting.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that I've always been most excited about, like IDEX staking, is that it pays out USDC every 2 weeks. And we've had that sort of structure, I think, since the beginning of the program. Maybe Alex can confirm. But I think the sort of value prop that has existed for stakers has always for me been really, really strong, because that revenue comes in, first of all, consistently, and second of all, comes in USDC. So there's no hedging you have to do. There's no complicated math you have to do. Ultimately, you're there to support the network, and you're getting revenue in the same way that IDEX makes revenue. So I think that sort of narrative is, it's really good to see that Unibot brought it back, and I think more protocols will probably adopt it. But I think it's also awesome because IDEX has been doing something similar for a pretty long time.
Exactly.
All right, so I guess to start off with a pretty general question, I mean, where do you think we are on maybe the cycle or the spectrum here with this sort of like degeneracy? I've always touched on the fact that like all tokens are social tokens, but I never really expected us to go this far down into the depths of questionable Ponzi's.
Yeah, this is unreal. Like with all the racing tokens and stuff, like especially Hams, which is the hamster one. I mean, right now I'm looking at the chart and it's not looking too great. I'm not trying to give any financial advice, obviously, but what was interesting as well was the way, obviously, like the token would fluctuate depending on like the races. So people would care more, obviously, when the races are kind of happening. And also there was like this emotional attachment to each of the hamsters because they had like their own names and stuff. I think they had like their own records, and one of the ones that really stood out to me was CK because he had like a record of like 8 to 800 wins or something. So like he had only won like 8 races out of 800, and obviously he got memed for being like a terrible hamster, and it's kind of horrible. Which kind of leads into, I was just going to say, like,
yeah, go ahead.
The how well are these animals actually being treated, and people actually starting to care about that a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of good to see a lot of the responses later on for a lot of these projects. Was we finally kind of woke up after our 2-day hamster racing betting bender, and we're just like, what the fuck are we
monsters.
Doing? Why are we racing salmon?
Literally, like any animal you can think of, even goats. Like I've seen it.
right, so what do you think of the casino meta? Because I have some thoughts around that. Obviously, I've
Spicy.
been pretty vocal.
Yeah.
I've been pretty vocal about that, and I'll provide some color. But I mean, where do you kind of see CT continuing to grapple with that, and like how do you feel like that might evolve?
For me, a lot of it came in partnerships with specific casinos where obviously that attracted like a lot of attention. It was pretty clear that like online gambling and stuff had already been like a thing, and you know, people may touch on like GCR saying how it's actually easier to obviously do it online than, you know, fly to Vegas or, you know, go to your local casino or whatever and do this. I'm like personally like a little bit torn because you've seen people like, you know, partner with these people and then kind of give it some more thought and feel like it's not like, you know, very ethical, kind of similar to the like animal racing, right? Like people don't feel like it's necessarily the best place, best direction to kind of point people in because of like, you know, the crazy leverage that you're kind of getting access to, and it is just like pure gambling. But that's kind of my thoughts ultimately. That I don't know really where I sit with it, and I think general sentiment towards it has been negative purely because of like, you know, people have been so good up until this point, and casinos were able to just offer such a large bag to certain people that, you know, it's hard to say no to.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah. I think I agree where I think I'm a little bit conflicted as well because in like a macro sense, I think the whole decentralized or on-chain casino narrative definitely has some merit. And like GCR said, people are going to gamble no matter what, right? So whether you're flying to Macau, whether you're flying to Vegas, or whether you're opening up a casino site on your browser, you're going to be a certain percentage of the population that's doing it, right? The kind of key is like not going overboard with encouraging it. And I think where the dangers lie with decentralized casinos is it's just so much easier to basically prey on like young impressionable people, right? Like it's much harder for you as like a 16-year-old to get into a Vegas casino, but I mean opening up, you know, a casino online is going to be like 10 times easier, and there's really nothing really stopping you. I think one of the other things that's kind of concerning for me is like the promotion of like the standard casino games. I don't think is as terrifying for me as the comparison of like the quote unquote futures that some of these casinos have offered, right? So I think like one of the things that I keep seeing, and like one of the things I've been pretty vocal about, is like people comparing something like IDEX to something like Rollbit, right? Where like you know, 1,000x futures that something like Rollbit offers, or I think there's like Z Casino now. There's a few other ones that offer something similar, and equating it to the same thing as trading. And I think one of the key differences that we need to keep in mind is that something like Rollbit is a completely black box, right? On top of not having an order book or really any sort of transparency around how the system works, it's a complete black box because you don't know if there's any actual settlement happening. Something like IDEX, not only do you have like an actual transparent order book, one of the key differences that people don't even realize is that you can't put limit orders on places like Rollbit, right? So immediately right off the bat, it's nothing like trading because right off the bat, you're put into a system where you immediately have to be a taker. You essentially are positioned in a way that you only have one action. And ultimately, you have no idea what's happening on the back end when that action goes through, as opposed to something like IDEX, where everything happens on chain, right? You can verify all of the liquidity. You can verify all of the custodial nature, like the self-custodial nature. You can make sure that you always retain custody of your funds. And ultimately, you can see all of the transactions settle on chain. I think that's a really, really key difference. And something like centralized exchanges, I think, sits somewhere in between, where at least they have an order book. But again, something like Binance or Bybit is kind of a black box. Like you have no idea if the trades that are happening that you're seeing on the chart and in the order book and in the recent trades column of the centralized exchange are actually being like properly documented and properly processed on the background. That's how we have things like FTX happen. That's how we have things like a lot of the proof of reserves that had to come out, but that doesn't really, you know, it doesn't necessarily prove that everything is happening in real time as opposed to something like a deck. So that's the key thing for me is like I really just want people to stop comparing this like Frankenstein version of, I guess, a combination of trading and gambling to something like IDEX or something even like, you know, Binance and Bybit and so on. So I guess my next question to you, Reese, is do you think you can predict what the next sort of narrative might be? Do you see any kind of early ones that you've spotted on CT that are starting to get some growth, or
Oh,
is it a bit too early?
it's an interesting question. Like for me, personally, like I'm trying to bet on winners here. So when I kind of briefly touched on this where I saw things starting with Pepe and, Bitcoin as a ticker, but it's actually like, Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama, all that stuff. And then it kind of transitioned to Unibot and, all of their like copycats and stuff. And then it's kind of rotated back into the, the meme coins and there's, the ones like Animal Racing and stuff. But I kind of just believe that my bets kind of lie in the like tech, which is kind of a meme to say you're in it for the tech sometimes. But truly with the Telegram bots and stuff, like those are what are being utilized most for, this shit coining like on chain is because that is kind of what is giving people the advantage. And the people that have been doing this for a while now, they're utilizing like 2 to 3 bots like to execute around like their entry and exit. And obviously like identifying like if things are a honeypot as quick as possible and being first obviously gives the most returns here because you're early as possible to a product, and the only way that you can do that is by utilizing these bots most of the time. I'm obviously not endorsing them, but that is generally where I lie with where things are currently going back into Unibot. And I think you can see on the Bitcoin ticker chart obviously things going back there as well. So interested to see if Pepe catches some of this, but ultimately it's all in the Telegram bots for me.
That's really interesting. I think part of the appeal for the Telegram bots and like the influx of on-chain traders has definitely been fueled by like bear market boredom. And I'm curious as to your thoughts. What percentage of like do you think of these new breed of on-chain traders who are starting to use bots are going to come back to trading like perps or maybe like the majors once the activity picks up? Or do you think like the majority of them will stay in that range? I think you have more connections and friends that are trading on chain than I do. So I'm like very curious as to like their kind of mindset when it comes to like, is their on-chain trading temporary, like a means to an end, or are they like completely set on this new way of I guess generating income?
The most interesting thing is like the size that you can really put into a lot of these shitcoins, especially like early on. That is kind of like a barrier for some of the the larger account traders that I know, is that they're not really interested in that stuff purely because that's not really what they specialize in, but they can't really take part in with the size that they'd want to take part in with. So
Right.
but also a lot of like the shitcoiners and people that I know that have been doing it for a while, because they kind of specialize in it, they're able to just kind of like make a killing off of like new people coming in and not really know what they're doing. Like they're just throwing money at something and expecting it to go up like 100x, when in reality the people that are probably just using Uniswap to make these transactions are just buying the top. And all the people that have been doing this on-chain stuff for a while now are just making a killing. I think maybe once they get to a certain size by doing all the on-chain stuff, they do start to transition. Just more traditional coins, shall we say. But at the moment, I see people just making a killing whilst they still can, more than anything.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's good insight. All right, well, we're coming up on the hour here, so I guess it's probably a good time to start to wrap up. Before we do, I saw one more question come in. What is going to be the criteria to make it on the testnet beta whitelist? That's an awesome question. Ultimately, it'll come down to kind of two forms. One will come down to activity and engagement in Discord. So we've been pretty adamant about structuring an opportunity for us to really grow our Discord. I think our community right now is super strong, but it's quite small, and we've obviously had a lot more growth and a lot more, I think, captured market share on Twitter as opposed to Discord. And I think right now, one of our key objectives is to really start to grow our community, and we feel that the testnet beta will definitely be one of those opportunities to really lean into that. And the second criteria will come down to completing quests on the partner Galaxy board. So this will be things like possibly creating content for IDEX, helping us with filling out surveys, retweeting our social things, and participating in a few different campaigns, like coming on all the spaces, like joining any sort of other live event we might have. So it'll be basically a combination of just staying as engaged as possible with IDEX. And as long as you're able to do that, you'll definitely make it on the whitelist. Reese, anything else you want to add to that?
I think you covered it all. Perfect.
All right, perfect. So I think we spilled quite a lot of alpha today, as we always do. If you're interested in the testnet beta, as I'm sure you are, make sure to join Discord. Make sure to hit the notification bell. Keep IDEX in your feed. Alex, any last thoughts you want to add?
Nothing to add. Just a great space. Really appreciate all the personal stories and insights. Really enjoyed listening in.
Yeah, huge thank you to Pancakes and Reese. That was honestly probably one of the best spaces we've had. I didn't expect so much interesting things to come out of it, and I think everyone, I'm sure, agrees that this was an awesome time. So thank you everyone for coming by. We'll catch you in approximately 2 weeks for the next Spill the Alpha. Have a great day.